Alright guys, what's going on? So we got the new Smash Direct today. I'm going to just be frank with you guys, I did not wake up in time. So there's a title now, I know who the character is. But let's just act surprised anyway to see what's going on with this game. So let's get the headphones on. Also ignore my bedhead as well. That's the thing. I did my best. Anyways, let's see who we got.
The time has finally come to unleash the forbidden spell of Zaharas upon our enemies!
I have no idea what this is. I have no idea what this or that is.
What were you thinking, charging right into an enemy's trap? As you and I are one, I too am trapped within this void. In time, our hearts and minds will cease to be. Are you prepared to die? I thought as much. I also do not wish to die. And yet... there is no other choice. You must join Smash.
Huh?
Join Smash Brothers already! What in the world are you waiting for?
So joining Smash consumes even the darkness itself!
Well, the sword is nice. I do like that Corrin style mechanic.
So you return, and sooner than expected. I see. Too many swordsmen, are there? And you wield the sword as well? What will you do?
This is funny.
So that is how you plan to win the day? So be it. I reward your cleverness this time. How is this?
There. Is everyone happy now? Now we got a final character that doesn't just use a sword.
Oh.
Of anyone, you should be able to handle the hero's relics. With Arid Fire, strike with superior reach. Use Amir's overwhelming power. Unleash the blinding speed of Failnaught. Along with the Sword of the Creator, each weapon matches a direction.
Makes sense.
Your will and mine be now as one! To you, both sides of time are revealed! Through Smash, show the world!
I have no idea who this character that looks like Tiki is. I'll have to ask my friend Gemma. She played it. She really enjoys Fire Emblem.
Yes, there you have it. Byleth from Fire Emblem Three Houses is joining the battle. Fire Emblem Three Houses was released just last summer, so it's still very new. Even so, you'll soon be able to play as them in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. This release is planned for January 28th. You'll have instant access if you have the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Fighters Pass, and it will also be available for purchase individually. In case you're not familiar with Fire Emblem or Three Houses, I'll explain a few things, so don't worry.
Of course.
First off, what is Fire Emblem? It's really hard to pronounce in Japanese. The producer said it's okay if I just say Fire Emblem. But when writing it, if you don't write Fire Emblem, the Fire Emblem police will come and get you, so please be careful. The series' first entry launched in Japan on the Famicom in 1990. You could say it was a pioneer in the genre of tactical role-playing games. You might be wondering what makes it particularly tactical. Well, it's tactical in that it simulates combat. You can think of it as moving pieces in a board game, or in other words, a game in which you advance units across a grid and
Are you really honestly surprised that this is one of the characters? Like, for
When
real.
we talk about tactical games
This
of that era,
whole-
there were lots of
this whole
ones in which
pack
you command tanks, aircraft,
was
and so on. But Fire
created
Emblem was
by
unique
Nintendo
because each
themselves.
unit
So,
was a
some
specific
bigwig at
character,
Nintendo
sort of like in role-playing games.
had to say, like, let's get a Fire Emblem character in here because this is
Plus,
one of the games we
something
just
made it
put
stand
out
from other
for the
Nintendo
Switch.
products.
And this is one of our new characters for the Switch, so
That's
Might as
pretty
well.
direct language, though, so perhaps we should just say they're sleeping with the fishes. But really, if a character fell in battle, you'd lose that unit. They'd be gone and you couldn't use them again. Recent entries in the series maintain this concept of permadeath to some degree in classic mode and what have you. But a lot of games now allow strategic withdrawals, so to speak.
gotta be
In the older
careful.
games, your units would really be gone, never to be mentioned again. Scary. The game's stories are told like chronicles of war, with increasingly distinct characters and engrossing scenarios.
For some reason, this brand of water
Several characters also
always
appear in
fills
the
it to the
Smash
top.
Bros. Series, and 6 of the 7 can use a counterattack. It's their down special. There's actually a reason for this. When I was considering how to incorporate Fire Emblem Fighters into Super Smash Bros. Melee, I thought it might be interesting to reflect the turn-based nature of the original game. First comes your opponent's turn. They attack and you counter. Next comes your turn. And now, Fire Emblem Three Houses is the 17th game in the series. People who aren't Japanese in particular might be thinking, 17 games? There are that many?
Yeah, it started
if
since the
you include
Nintendo
Fire Emblem
era.
Heroes in the remakes, but you don't include the Satellaview game, Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE, and Fire Emblem Warriors, then it comes out to 17 games. Let's try saying them in the Fire Emblem Can You Say It challenge. I'll give it a try.
暗黒竜と光の剣、外伝紋章の謎、聖戦の系譜、トラキア776、封印の剣、烈火の剣、聖魔の功績、草原の奇跡、暁の女神、新暗黒竜新紋章、覚醒イフヒーローズエコーズ風化設立。
There you go, 17.
今変な数え方してます
So, you saw how I was counting in a weird way, right? I was counting in binary.
つまりこれが全部
This is 0. Fold this here and you get 1, and then you get 2, then 2 plus 1 equals 3. So, this would be 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then you get 16. Add 1 and you get 17. Awesome, isn't it? You can actually count up to 31 on one hand.
That's
And
interesting.
if you use both hands, you can count all the way up to 1023.
畳の数を数える目の数を数える
If you've given up counting the knots in a tatami mat, you could always give it a go. What is Fire Emblem Three Houses?
I never knew that was a thing.
In Japanese, the male version of the main character is called Bereto and the female version is called Beresu, but in English they share the same name, Byleth. Byleth becomes a professor who ends up leading one of 3 academic houses. Once you've chosen a house, you guide them through their school life, and, well, you end up fighting the other houses. After a certain incident, 5 years pass, and you meet up with your grown-up students to battle against the other houses in their region.
Excuse me.
It's a very sad game in which your former allies become enemies, turn hostile, and try to kill you. To understand the concept of Fire Emblem Three Houses, I played an early version of the game before its release. I've done the same thing before, with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, for example, because I couldn't wait until launch to experience it, or we'd have never made it in time. For that title, I borrowed an early version of the game for 2 days, ran around all the areas, saw the ending, and realized for the first time, I guess we can't really have Breath of the Wild's Princess Zelda as a fighter. I did the same this time, but with there being 3 houses and multiple endings, it was really hard to get a feel for it. And of course, there weren't any walkthroughs I could reference. The game has multiple routes and the outcome of each is very different. Your experience will vary depending on the route you choose, and many of the characters you meet will adopt different roles in the story. I'll try to avoid spoilers when I'm talking about the fighter. I hope you'll understand. Before my demonstration, I should point out that when I did the Terry Bogard showcase video, I mentioned that it was recorded a month in advance. But this time, we have to account for the holidays and such, so we're filming 2 months in advance of this video's release. Right now, it's actually November. Therefore, some of what I'm about to show you might differ a bit from the finished version. As always, I'm using a special in-game camera and such for demonstration purposes. Here I go. So, this is our new fighter, Byleth.
I don't really like the female design so
Sadly,
much.
they're lacking in mobility. It's maybe a bit better than Robin's, but that's about all you can say for them. Throws are not their strong point either. Their grab lacks range. But actually, you could say that they're distance demon. The hero's relic they use changes depending on the direction you input with the stick. Each of the hero's relics is a weapon that appears in Fire Emblem Three Houses. They look like bones, and there's a reason for that. First, let's talk about the weapon Byleth uses for upward inputs, the Sword of the Creator.
What, it's like
The
dragon
Sword of the Creator here
bones?
is Byleth's default weapon. They use it for flurry attacks and tilt attacks, such as down tilt attacks, where it takes the form of a whip. They also use the sword for dash attacks and other moves. For their up smash attack, they'll whip the sword upward to launch enemies in the air. For their up air attack, they'll wave the whip sword overhead. The hit detection for this attack lasts for a relatively long time. The up special move is really something. The sword extends like this, allowing you to do things like this. It was pretty terrifying how I knocked him into the air with that attack. And in addition, you can do awful things like this.
That's dirty.
That said, you'll launch opponents upward until their damage reaches a certain percentage. Exceed that percentage and you'll need to be careful. You may find it helpful to mid-air dodge. I've already shown this, but you can also use it to latch onto edges. So that's the up special. Now for the sideways inputs. This is Erdvar, the same name as the weapon from Celtic mythology. First, we'll go through the forward and back air attacks. As you can see, they have a long reach. Like so. Marth's air attack keeps opponents in check too, right? If Byleth does the same thing, you'd win out, so you should be able to beat it. Next, the side smash attack. This also has a long range. It'll connect even from here. Also, if you add an upward tilt, it will be stronger. And if you've knocked an opponent down, the side attack won't hit unless you add a downward tilt to aim for them.
Okay.
By the way, the tip of the lance is more powerful.
Of
The
course.
shadow part is weaker. So it's
Will it
not
be a
suited to
Fire Emblem
close
character
combat.
otherwise?
It won't deal much damage, and it won't launch opponents far.
But that's a good way to balance
That's
it.
why, as a rule, you want to hit with the blade part aimed upward, or downward in this case. Next, the side special move. Byleth will simply swing the lance like this, but again, it has excellent reach. For example, even when your opponent is at this distance, it'll still hit.
Okay.
Actually,
like
you
that.
can do a smash attack to charge forward a little, like this. But as you'd expect, it can be easily shielded, so be careful. Use it in midair and you'll carve up a large area. Returning to the side air attacks from earlier, they have great horizontal reach, but they lack verticality.
Doesn't really have any recovery. He has no
So
side
this
recovery.
complements it well. Although you'll be vulnerable when you land. Now, for the downward inputs. For these, Byleth will use an axe called Emir. It's named after a weapon that appears in Ugaritic myth. First, the down air attack. It really is strong. You can try for a meteor effect with this attack. Next is the down smash attack. A heavy swing of the axe back and forth. As you can see, it has a great deal of launch power.
Okay, he's a
And for the
little on
down
the
special.
slow side.
Byleth channels all their energy into a devastating strike. It's a bold move, similar to the Falcon Punch, but here's what makes it different. When readying the move, there's a super armor effect, which allows you to withstand an attack. Just so you know, if you execute a Falcon Punch at about the same time, it plays out like this. It's a bit slower than the Falcon Punch, but due to the super armor effect, you have the advantage. Unless you get grabbed.
Makes sense.
Another notable aspect is that it lets you pass through platforms. While you're charging up, you can breeze past platforms like this to reach a lower area. It won't let you jump, but you could use it as a surprise attack.
Why does he get
Also,
to do
you can
that?
turn around during the move.
Oh, come
The
on.
swing takes a while, so if an opponent runs behind you during the move, you can quickly change direction.
He should be able to have that.
Even though it can be hard to land a hit with this move, it can be really effective when used against a group of opponents.
That should not be allowed.
Plus, even if you fail to land a direct hit, any opponents on the ground nearby will still be launched a little. It's as if the quaking of the ground launches them. By the way, earlier I talked a little bit about the other Fire Emblem characters' moves. I don't recommend using this down special against fighters from the Fire Emblem series, because you'll just get loads of counters. It hits with that much power in a single attack. Counters can actually multiply the power of blocked attacks, and using easily anticipated attacks like this could just get you hit by counter after counter. Next, we have the neutral moves. The bow you use is called Failnaught, which shares its name with the bow from the Knights of the Round Table. It only appears in a few neutral moves. You've got the neutral air attack. This attack is similar to a move of Pit's and other fighters like him. It lets you spin the weapon around. It's also easy to create certain combos with it. And with the neutral special, you'll let loose an arrow. It seems pretty straightforward, right? But there are a few noteworthy aspects to this bow. First, the biggest difference between this bow and Link's is that once you enter the command, you can keep charging until it's ready. You can't release it partway through the charge, so when it does fire, the arrow travels at high speed. It's also very powerful. That said, you can still cancel out of the stance using the shield button. You can also change direction while in the stance. It works up until this point, but if you keep holding the button, you'll unleash a powerful arrow that looks like a beam of light.
What?
You can perform this move by keeping the button held down. You charge up power like so, charge a bit more, and then fire. But again, you'll need to take care when using this move. For one, when you've powered up the move to its max, there's no way to cancel out of it, not even with the shield button. In other words, you're committed to firing it. So you see, a situation like this is pretty terrible. Once you've entered the stance, you won't be able to do anything. Which means it's quite the risky attack to use against fighters who have a move with a reflector effect. But you could always just aim into the fray, as it is, after all, a long-range move, letting you deal a sudden blow to opponents. So you need to think carefully when using this projectile weapon.
I wonder
This
if I
final smash
can.
is called Progenitor God,
I wonder if I
Ruptured
can
Heaven.
use
In the
this
original
as
game, there's a move
PSI
called
magnet
Ruptured
for that.
Heaven. This is an enhanced version. As you can see, you team up with the mysterious Sothis and launch an attack together.
というものになっています。ソティスが誰であるのか何なのかというのは原作で確認してみていただければと思います。
Now, let's talk about the color variations. It's set up so that the default and odd-numbered color variations are male, while the even-numbered ones are female. However, the third, fourth, and fifth colors are, as you can see, reminiscent of the house leaders.
Okay.
Those of you who played the original game will of course understand what I'm referring to. The sixth color is based on Sothis, who you just saw earlier. And the seventh and eighth variations have a different hair color, which is based on something that occurs in the course of the original game's story. Didn't we see this variation in the final Smash?
まあこれは原作でもということで。
Next, I'll introduce the stage. For this one, we of course tried to recreate the place where you spend most of the game, Garreg Mach Monastery. This is how Garreg Mach Monastery is laid out in the original game. From these, we chose to have it cycle through the marketplace, reception hall, bridge, and cathedral all in one stage. It's the type of stage that rotates through different areas, such as these four. Let me introduce each of the guests that appear in these four areas. The first area is the marketplace. I think this is where a lot of people come to do their shopping. The guests that appear here are students of the Blue Lion's house, Dimitri, Dedu, and Ingrid. Not Dimitri, Dudu, or Ingrid. Their names are a bit difficult to say. They're largely from the Holy Kingdom of Fargus. Since it's a kingdom, that means they have a monarchy. For that reason, I guess you could say Dimitri's the future king. He had quite a difficult life and may or may not end up with just one eye. He's an unfortunate one, that one. There are vendors on either side. In the original game, these are important booths where you buy all sorts of things, but here you can break them, you see. If you do break them, the stage will expand to the left and right. I wonder where people will buy their supplies now. And in the background, you can see the gatekeeper. You often pass through this area in Fire Emblem 3 houses.
Stage
and you
looks a
end up
little
talking to
rough.
them a lot. Moving through these areas is possible thanks to this mysterious platform. Just when it seems like you've come to a stop, you'll come crashing back down. We've broken through the ceiling and slammed into the building. And the guests in the reception hall are Edelgard, Dorothea, and Petra of the Black Eagles. Take note, it's not spelled Edelgard. They're from the Adressian Empire. And as such, they embrace their military might.
I have not seen this Dorothea character.
Edelgard is one of the characters who is central.
See the other one. Like, I see Petra, I see Edelgard.
Depending on the path you take, she'll go through some terrible
I can't
ordeals.
believe people thought that character was going to be in the
You'll
game.
notice there are prominent
Oh,
cheerleaders
over
on
the
stage. It's
created
possible to knock
character.
them down. However, Byleth can't actually reach it, even though it's their stage. You can reach it with other fighters, though. So, it's nice if you can work your way up there by getting lucky and being launched up, or perhaps by using another fighter as a stepping stone. There we go, I made it. And you can knock it down. Also, you can break this table. Like so. Just like the sign that reads Furin Kazan in the Suzaku Castle stage, it can break if you launch the opponent into it at close range. Next up, the bridge. The camera rotates 90 degrees, creating this long area. It's very wide indeed.
Well, I can already see people are going to ban
Similar
this
to the bridge
stage.
of Elden stage. The guests are from the Golden Deer, Claude, Hilda, and Lawrence. They belong to the Leicester Alliance.
I haven't seen this Lawrence character either.
Because it's an alliance of many noble families, you could say that they have a wide assortment of members. And Claude is the sharpest of the bunch. Incidentally, both Claude and Hilda are the names of characters that appear in Genealogy of the Holy War, the 4th title in the Fire Emblem series. I guess once you've reached the 17th game and are creating 40 characters for each new entry, you're bound to get a bit of name overlap. The naming process must be tough. Hey, it looks like the Pegasus Knight is busy training. As for the bridge's design, it's just a long pathway, plain and simple. You can expect plenty of blows to be exchanged at the edges of the screen. You could also say it's a place where the Fail Knot really shines, and in this sense, I think it suits the Golden Deer perfectly. The last area is the cathedral, only with some platforms you can pass through. The guests appearing in the cathedral are Seteth, Flayn, and Rhea. There's Seteth, who appears to have an extremely strong bond with his sister, Flayn. She seems to be under the protection of him and Rhea, who you can see fighting during the opening of Fire Emblem Three Houses. All three have character quirks related to their true identities.
Huh.
I feel that Flayn might be saying shush at this point, so I'll leave it at that. This is a simple area of the stage. All it has are these platforms. Being the last area, it may be a place where some intense battles will be waged. It'll cycle through each
This part of the
location
stage looks
in about
nice.
2.5 minutes.
Just the outside area from earlier looked a little rough.
Okay, today we'll have a tag team battle in Squad Strike with the DLC team pitted against Fire Emblem protagonists from throughout the ages. That'll give us precisely 5 players per side. Alright, here we go, Joker. Joker! And Hero! Gee, we really made a lot, huh? Banjo! By now, I think you know what I'm doing. But basically, I'm trying to defeat all 5 opponents with just the professor here. But as expected, it's going to be a pretty tough battle, so I'm using anything I can get my hands on.
So this is the second Fire Emblem character that we got that
It's not
doesn't
gonna
use
land that
counters.
easy. Uh-oh, this is bad. Fennekin.
Also, can we please get
I better
Squad
keep my
Strike
distance.
online, please, please?
I'll
It
use
looks
this
like such a
chance to
fun
attack.
mode for online.
Got him. That's scary. He's invincible for a moment here. Lots of explosives. Ouch. He perfect shielded that, huh? Good one. If I do this, or like so. No anti-air, huh? There, the soccer ball connected. Good, there's Mom. You're in a good spot, Mom. Ah, I shouldn't have taken that. Gardevoir. Well, I guess no one uses projectiles. At this point, it doesn't matter if Gardevoir's there or not. I feel like the enemy might get this smash ball. See? They got it. But I mustn't give up. I can't waste this chance. there's another smash ball. Yes, got it. Now, what are you charging up for? There's still more. Whack. Go on, you can take the hammer, but it's mine. Although I'm scared I might get hit with a counter in this state. I hit him. I was trying to fight using Byleth's abilities alone, but what matters is that I won. Good game. It can be fun to play like this, especially in tag team, so I think it's a good idea to try imposing different types of challenges on yourself.
All the more
The
reason
end.
to give it to us online.
Now, about the additional music. Since it's from the Fire Emblem series, we'll be adding each of the new tracks to all the Fire Emblem stages. There are already a lot of Fire Emblem tracks in the game. Our selection this time has been made taking those existing tracks into consideration. 11 songs are being added. This includes an arrangement of the main theme in both Japanese and English. I hope you'll enjoy these as well. We're also adding in a new spirit board. It includes the house leaders among some of the other popular characters. Sothis is Legend class. Also, there's a new classic mode route, a Heroic Legacy, which is designed to let you enjoy classic Fire Emblem stages from throughout the series' history. The final battle is against Master Hand and Crazy Hand, but you'll find that something pretty amusing happens, so look forward to that. Now for the Mii Fighter costumes. Please take a look.
It's a classic mode route? Do we actually get that song? Okay, Mega Man X. That's Star Force with an EXE song. Come on, Nintendo. Okay, come on. Get your act together, Nintendo. That's a Star Force. That's a Star Force theme. With the EXE character. With the Battle Network character. Why?
This time, we're releasing a Cuphead costume. And for those of you who purchased the Cuphead costume, an additional song will be added. It's called Floral Fury, and it's the theme that plays when fighting Cagney Carnation. I hope you enjoy these as well. After purchasing a costume, I recommend using the sharing feature. If someone has created a Mii Fighter, you can play using the costume it's wearing immediately after you download it. And now, onto the amiibo. The color palette for Dark Samus looks pretty good, doesn't it? Dark Samus and Richter are planned for release on Friday.
Dark Samus looks
February
really good.
17th.
そして今回
And now, with the addition of Byleth, the Fighters Pass is finally complete. The lineup was Joker, Hero, Banjo and Kazooie, Terry Bogard, and Byleth. From more than 70 fighters, only 5 have been added. But I must say, this game has always been an exceptional experience. And since the roster was already so large to begin with, right from the start, we intended to make the most out of the new gameplay mechanics and so on. There really were a lot of new mechanics, weren't there? When we add a new fighter, we don't simply make their attacks or their movements a little different. Instead, we try to offer you a whole new style of play. As I stated, we'll continue to release more DLC fighters down the line. I had thought that 1 or 2 might suffice, but, well, have a look.
Okay.
Looks like there will be one more fighter than last time. For this reason, we will be releasing the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Fighters Pass Volume 2. It will be available for pre-purchase on the date shown, so please keep an eye out. And now that it's official, we intend to move ahead with development. Of course, like last time, the contents will remain unknown for now, and I'm personally very sorry that we have to release Fighters Pass Volume 2 when the details have yet to be revealed. Like last time, I'd be very grateful if, despite that, you would understand why and purchase it. Furthermore, the new additions have already been decided. Even if I receive many requests regarding potential candidates on Twitter, I'm afraid it would be very hard to consider them. But I still hope you'll look forward to it. We're also including a bonus with Fighters Pass Volume 2. Last time, it was a Rex costume, but this time, here's what we have. It's a Mii Fighter costume for Mii Sword Fighter, the ancient soldier gear from The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. This will not be for sale individually, so it can only be acquired as part of Fighters Pass Volume 2.
I just got the joke on that last one.
It's been reported that Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is the highest selling fighting game in the world. Personally, I don't know if it counts as simply a fighting game, but I guess it's seen as a fighting game around the world. Seems like Street Fighter 2 was in the lead for a while, but now Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has surpassed it in total sales. However, I'm not sure if this is accurate. There were 5 versions of Street Fighter 2, or 6 to 7 if we really want to get into the weeds. Plus, there's the arcade versions and the 25 ports to other systems, so I don't know if that's been accounted for. Also, I don't know if that really qualifies as one game. It's up for discussion. So, who knows? But when it comes to a single piece of software, it seems like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is number 1. Although, I still don't know if it can really be called just a fighting game. I feel like it's become more than a fighting game, some sort of celebration of gaming or something else entirely.
I think it's a celebration of gaming. I've been thinking that
Also,
way since
I
like
feel a deep attachment to the 5 DLC
Melee.
fighters.
Really. I thought it was a celebration of Nintendo history,
First
and then
Fighters
Brawl
Pass
came
just
out.
wrapped up, but it was decided that there will be more DLC, which means no breaks for me. I plan to keep working hard, so I hope you can continue to support us. That's it. Thank you.
Alright. So, I'm not even mad. I'm a little disappointed, but I'm not even mad. Because I knew this was going to be a thing eventually. We were going to get a Fire Emblem character eventually. I'm glad they just got out the way as the last one of this pack. But, I'm not even mad. And it looks like Three Houses got an expansion pass? Whatever. In any case, this new character is alright. Like this, it seems like the Fire Emblem characters now are becoming a bit more interested in just being like, swords and doing the basic sword things, and then having a counter. Like the counter, I gotta understand is a universal mechanic for these Fire Emblem characters. I'm not gonna get upset about that. I'm not gonna get upset about they all use swords. More so with like the way they redesigned Roy in his fighting style. I honestly think Roy should get redesigned even further, and Lucina should get redesigned in terms of the way she moves rather than just being a clone of Marth. But it is what it is. Like Roy these days is now very very different from Marth, as well as Ike and Robin and not Crom and Robin and Corin is the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, Crom and Lucina are very much like the Blights when it comes to how people view these Fire Emblem characters playing all the same when they really don't. So I'm happy that this character looks so different. I'm a little upset that it's not Lyn because I really wanted Lyn, but I knew it was going to be this Byleth Fire Emblem character. It just had to be with the trend that they're going with these Fire Emblem characters. They're going with the OC character that you make, not necessarily the character that is now part of the story that like the main character, I guess. But it was not going to be Edelgard because there's three main characters. There's three houses. They're not going to just make it one character, even if it's the most popular of those three. They're still the main character of each storyline. Regardless. And like Byleth is the main factor in all of those story arcs. Like it's the one character that is in all three regardless. So it was gonna be Byleth. I am surprised that they have all three of the main characters' weapons, but I'm I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad. I knew it wasn't going to be Doomguy or anyone that was Western because we haven't really gotten any Western characters outside of Banjo Kazooie. And like, sure, King K. Rool and Dark Samus are Western design characters. They still are part of a Japanese game, so to speak. And that's not even knocking. That's not even knocking Western developed characters versus Japanese developed characters. It's just that's been the trend of Smash Bros. When it comes to gaming history. They have been picking primarily Japanese characters from Japanese games. Banjo Kazooie was a real exception. And I didn't think it was going to be Dante. Because, honestly, do you guys really want Dante? You do it to yourselves. Because we had Bayonetta just dominating the entirety of Smash U and Smash 3DS. Yes, they're two different games. Look it up. And you want Dante, who is the progenitor of that combo-esque fighting style. Before Bayo, before is it before God of War? I believe it's before God of War. Before God of War, before the Astral Chain characters, before 2B and Lear Automata. Like there was Dante. You really want that? If you really want Dante in Smash, take a look at how he works in Marvel's Capcom, in Marvel's Capcom 3 and Marvel's Capcom Infinite. You don't want this. You really don't want this. You say you want this, but you really don't want this. What you really want is to be that character. You don't want to be on the receiving end of that character once people figure him out. And like I've been saying, I knew it was not going to be any character I particularly want. Well, I particularly care about that much to be in Smash. I'm happy that, like, a lot of people got the characters that they wanted for this season pass. We got a Dragon Quest character. I know people have been saying that they want a Dragon Quest character for some time. Maybe not this particular Dragon Quest character, but hey, you got 4 Dragon Quest characters for the price of 1. Can't even be mad there. They put a lot of work into that. Daniel, my particular friend, wanted Terry Bogard, and I'm glad he got his character. I know people wanted Joker. I really didn't care for Joker. I really didn't think Joker should be the representative for Shin Megami Tensei and Persona. But I know his game was very popular, so it's of no consequence to me. Banjo-Kazooie, I know people wanted him. Again, no consequence to me. I'm glad people got the characters that they wanted. Terry, Joker, who else am I missing? Banjo, Hero. Oh, well, yeah, that's all 5. And now Byleth. I know Byleth wasn't really a character people wanted. They wanted that Elgard chick. But, come on. Like, be serious with yourself. Were you really expecting to get Byleth? Were you really expecting to get Elgard over Byleth? And leave out the other 2? Come on. This is the best way for Byleth and the other 2 houses. I mean, this is the best way Elgard and the other 2 house leaders are represented in a moveset through Byleth. So, come on, don't think a little bit more on this. As far as these costumes go, I think it's a poor choice to have 2 Mega Man costumes in one pack. I say this being a Mega Man fan, but just give us a little bit more variety. In any case, I think I'm done here. And yeah, that's it. I have no idea what could possibly be the next 6 characters. We have to figure out what's the plan. How did they choose these 6? Was it from Nintendo again? Also, come on, again, these characters were chosen by Nintendo bigwigs. It was going to be Byleth. It wasn't going to be Elgard. If we figure out that it's going to be Nintendo's choice again, maybe not Sakurai's, maybe not a poll, and maybe not fan request, then we just have to look into what were the most popular games at the time, what could possibly be games that are big in the history of Nintendo, and what would be marketable is probably the best case scenario. Because as far as like SNK goes, yeah, Fatal Fury had a big presence on Super Nintendo, along with the Game Boy their Game Boy series, and I believe their DS series. The only one that feels out of place in all of that is maybe Joker. But whatever. Alright, I think I'm done here. For sure. Thank you everyone that has watched on Twitch and has decided to watch this on YouTube as well. Take care everyone. Be safe. Have fun with your games. I'm out. Well, time for me to look up who this character actually is, this Byleth.